everyone, welcome to Traffic Jam with Cam. And this week we have another very special guest, actually, a guest we've had on before. It's Adam, my man. And we are recording on Zoom today, and Adam's in the living room, and I'm in our bedroom because last time we recorded together, we there were some editing problems and things were overlapped and all kinds of stuff. So we're trying the Zoom method, and this way Adam and I can talk at the same time, and you'll hopefully be able to hear both of us. So, Adam, do you have anything to say?
I do not. Thank you for
Okay.
having me back for yet another episode.
Yay. Okay, you guys. So this week we're going to be talking about the top 10 things that you should do in Washington, D.C. when you come to visit. So, before we jump into that, we got to give you a quick recap of what we did last weekend because we went to New York City and it was my first time. It was Adam's second time. And we really jam packed a lot of things in. We went the weekend of my birthday and we did so many things. Adam, do you have a favorite thing that you want to share first?
My favorite thing was definitely Top of the Rock. Going to the top of the Rockefeller Center, just being able to see the views of New York City was pretty incredible.
Yeah, that was my favorite too. It was very worth it. That we did on like our first full day there. And we also got to see the Rockefeller tree and the ice skating rink. And we went to the Met. We saw the Flatiron Building. We went to Grand Central Station. We were staying right by the 9/11 memorial, so we went and saw that. We walked around Central Park. We saw the Manhattan Temple. We went and walked up and down Fifth Avenue, and all these window displays were out, and all like the fancy stores. And there were Christmas displays and decorations, and that was really cool. And we rode the subway a lot, so we were pretty much pros by the end. We also went to Magnolia Bakery 3 times, and we got their banana pudding because that stuff is magic. We had Had you ever had it before, Adam?
I had not. It was first time. It was very delicious.
I had heard of it, but heard that it was like that Magnolia Bakery is just like really famous and that they're known for their banana pudding, but oh guys, it's worth the hype. Um we also saw the Statue of Liberty from the edge of the water. We didn't go on the ferry, but we could see it from really close to where we were staying. And we went and walked on the Brooklyn Bridge, and we went to the Strand bookstore, and we had pizza, hot dogs, deli sandwiches, and we ate rainbow bagels, and the food we had was really good. So I'll have to post some pictures of the trip because it was awesome. We were there for 3 days, about 2 full days, and it was sad to leave. Adam, do you have any a traffic jam of this week that you want to share, or would you like me to share mine?
You can share yours.
Okay. The traffic jam of the week came about because Adam and I also just went to a Christmas work dinner for my work, for working at my dental office. And we went to this fancy Italian restaurant, which was very fun, the fanciest place I've ever been to. And Adam got this dish that he says was like the best dish he's ever had. And you can talk more about that, Adam. But I am not really a seafood girl, and I had never tried a scallop before. And we watch cooking shows, and so I've always seen scallops be cooked, and I'm like, okay, I just need to try it. So Adam got this pasta dish. It had shrimp and scallops in it, and I tried a tiny bite of a scallop, and I almost threw up, and I had to just like swallow it whole because everyone was like sitting at the table and could like see me if I like spit it out. And it was at this fancy restaurant, and so I was like, the waiters are gonna be offended. Like people would be so offended if I spit it out. So I had to chew it up really quick and swallow it, and it was very not good. But I've tried shrimp before. I don't like shrimp. I feel like a lot of seafood just has a fishy taste. And the reason I don't like shrimp is because it like pops and it's like it's like squishy and chewy and there's like I don't even know. But the scallop was pretty much the same thing. So my traffic jam of the week is just that seafood is not my thing. And I've tried no matter how many times I try it, I just don't like it anymore. So if there's anyone out there that is not a fan of seafood, then we're on the same team. But Adam, I know you really liked the dish, so
It was great. It also had lobster. Just super great dish. I loved it.
that's good you liked it. Uh, I just got a tortellini pasta dish, which was very delicious. That was more my speed. So, okay, should we move on to the top 10?
Let's do it.
Okay. So we've been in Washington, D.C. or Northern Virginia for how many months now? We've been here since May. 7?
7 months.
Yeah, we lived here for 7 months and we've done a lot. We've had this DC bucket list that we started even like before we moved here. And so we've been adding stuff to the list as we've been here. We've been checking stuff off the list. So we've done a lot of DC stuff. And so we thought it would be fun to give you some of our recommendations or our like top favorite things that we've done since we've been here that you should definitely do if you come to Washington, D.C. to visit. So my first recommendation is any Smithsonian museum in general. But my favorite is the Museum of Natural History. All the Smithsonian museums are free here in DC, which is amazing. But my favorite one is the Museum of Natural History because I love animals, I love the ocean, I love gems, all insects, one of the gross ones, but all kinds of things. So they have a ton of exhibits. They have a bones exhibit, dinosaurs exhibit, mammals exhibit, an ocean exhibit, like a gem and stone collection. They have this like insect room. It's so cool. And I've been there twice and I could just spend the whole day there. So that is like my very, very favorite thing to do here.
I love that there's a Smithsonian for like every person. Like there's just so many, there's a big variety, and all of them are just done exceptionally well. So the second thing that I came up with is the Stephen F. Udar Hazy Center. So it's also a Smithsonian building. So there's an Air and Space Museum that's inside Washington, D.C. on the National Mall. But this one is actually 30 minutes outside of Washington, D.C. But I think it's definitely worth the drive. Basically, it's a giant airplane hangar where they have like a ton of different planes. I think the main highlight there is that they have the Space Shuttle Discovery, which was the third space shuttle that was ever used to fly in space. It flew over 39 missions, over 150 million miles, and spent over a year in space. So I think it's really cool just to like be able to like walk around it and see something that was like in space and like played a big part in space exploration.
Wow, Adam, coming in with the facts. Seriously, when you stand next to it, you are so small. So that's a good recommendation. My next one is the Wharf. This is in DC and it's like right along the water. There's a big river that actually doesn't it divide DC and Northern Virginia?
Yes.
So it's right along this big river called the Potomac, and all of these huge like boats and yachts and stuff dock at this wharf. And there are big fancy like hotel buildings right along where all the boats are docked. There's this big walkway that you can like walk through. You can see all these fancy hotels. You can see these cute little shops. There's really good places to eat. And it's just like a fun atmosphere to walk around. There's one little, I don't know if you'd call it a boardwalk, but you can walk out like out to a boardwalk kind of thing out in the water. A pier, I guess it's kind of. And on the pier, there are these swings, like big bench swings that you can like go and sit on, and you can like look at the water, you can watch people, watch the boats, and that's really fun. And there's a concert venue that's right there where Adam and I went to the Laney concert. And there's also a ferry that you can take, or what is it called? The water taxi.
Mm-hmm.
You can take a water taxi from there to go to different places. So that's kind of a cool way to see the wharf and parts of DC also. But if you're going to DC, you should definitely just go walk around the wharf and check it out. It's super fun. Two of the places that we have eaten there's one called Surfside, and it's like this Caribbean grill. That's really good. So you should eat at Surfside. And they also have a Ben and Jerry's store where you go in and they have like the actual ice cream laid out like at Cold Stone or Baskin Robbins, and they have like all of the Ben and Jerry flavors and more that you like haven't seen in stores. So that's a really fun place.
Going along with the water theme, for number 4, I came up with Key Bridge Kayak Rental in Georgetown. So Georgetown is like another like neighborhood in Washington, D.C. that is super beautiful. But down there along the Potomac River, you can rent a kayak. I think it's about $20 for a single kayak for like an hour, or $25 for a 2-person kayak for an hour. And an hour of kayaking, I feel like, is a good amount because we were really tired by the end of it. But with where like the boat dock is rented, you're able to kayak past like the Watergate complex, the Kennedy Center. You're able to go around Theodore Roosevelt Island and all the way down to the Lincoln Memorial. So it's a good way to be able to see a lot of like different parts of Washington, D.C. And it's fun to like get out there on the river. And I thought what was really cool is there was a lot of like local high school and college rowing teams that were going by while we were kayaking. So they had these like big long rowboats, and they would like have their coach on like a little like electric boat, like yelling at them through a microphone. I thought it was just like really cool to see because I've never seen like a row team before. So kayaking I thought was a really like fun, cheap activity to do.
Good one. Okay, the next thing I would recommend is going to the top of the Washington Monument. You might not know that you can do this. We didn't know. And it's actually been like kind of on and off with COVID. Luckily, we were able to like sneak in at a time where it was open. I don't even know if it's open right now. But we just paid $1 to reserve our time slot. And Adam was saying that he doesn't even think that's normal, like that was maybe just with COVID. It might be free otherwise. But you go to the Washington Monument and you go inside, and they give you like some history and information, and then you get on this elevator and you go all the way to the top, and there's teeny tiny windows at the top of the Washington Monument, and they look so small when you're on the ground. And then when you get up to the very top, there's like, are there 2 floors that you can go on?
Yeah, there's like 2 floors. One is like the lookout, and then the floor below it is a like museum that tells you like facts.
Okay, yeah. So when you go to the top floor, you can look out on every side, like north, south, east, west. You can look out all of those windows, and there's even like a little map underneath, and it shows you where, or like what all of the big things are from that view. And it's just so cool to see all of DC from so high. And that was a really cool experience. I'm glad we did that.
One thing I love about Washington, D.C., unlike New York City, is the buildings are a lot smaller. Like the Capitol is the tallest building. So you're able to like look out and see everything. Like there aren't buildings blocking like other buildings. So it's a like really good way to see everything.
Yeah.
All right. What is this? Number
6, I think.
6. One of the numbers. Um, I put the United States Capitol. So United States Capitol is there along the National Mall as well. It's currently closed right now because of COVID, so they aren't doing tours anymore. But if it is open when you do go to Washington, D.C., it's totally worth doing. The tours are free, much like a lot of things in Washington, D.C. Um, and they're done by people that are like really well educated. So I did a tour before, and the person had been doing tours for like 30 years, like loved their job, took us all around the Capitol and was like able to tell us all of the history about different things, as well as each state has a statue in the Capitol somewhere. And so if you tell your tour guide what state you're from, they'll make sure to point out like your state's statue, like a statue of like a person. So I think that's really cool. As well, I think it's really cool that like they don't stop what they're doing for like tourists. So when I went on a tour, it was during a government shutdown and Congress was still in session to like vote to like vote on a new spending bill. So it was really cool to see like members of Congress like going between like their offices and um, like their different like meeting rooms. So I think that's really cool. And if Congress is in session, if you get prior approval, like you have to get a pass from someone like one of your state representatives, but you can get a pass that I think is like good for 1 or 2 years to go and listen to like Congress in session live. So I think it's a really cool opportunity to see kind of like how our government works.
Cool. I haven't done the Capitol tour yet since we've been here, so I still would really like to do that. I hope it opens sometime soon. Fingers crossed. My next recommendation would be you have to go to Gravely Point. I think Gravely Point is so cool. I love going there. We've been a few times now, and this is the park that you can go and sit at. You can have a little picnic. There's also a bike trail around there that people bike around. There's usually a little ice cream truck, and you can go and sit at this park, and it's right down, I don't know, right across. It's right across
Right
from
by
the
Reagan
Reagan Airport.
Reagan National Airport.
Yeah, so you sit at this park and the planes fly over you and land at the airport, and the airport's like right there. Like it's just like down the way. And when the planes fly in to land at the airport, the direction they're going, it looks like they're coming straight towards you. And they fly so close to over your head. Like it's so loud when they come in, and there's like always a constant stream of them coming, at least when we've gone. You can check the flight schedules and stuff before you go to make sure that they're, I don't know, I think you can see which way they're coming from because sometimes they don't always come from the right way. But it's really fun to see them flying so close, and you just have a really good view of, you can still see the Capitol and the Washington Monument, like the city and the river. Then you see the planes come in, and it's a really cool experience. So we've done some Sunday picnics there before.
Yeah, like Cameron said, you can check flight radars to make sure that the planes will be landing that way. They're either landing right over your head or taking off right over your head. I think it's cooler to see them land over your head because they're a lot closer. But you can, it just like depends on which way the wind is blowing. But a majority of the time, they're going that way and landing right over your head. But that's one of my favorite activities as well. Um, my next one is the National Cherry Blossom Festival. So I did this a few years ago when I was here for an internship, but it takes place between like late March to mid-April every year, and it's to celebrate the gift from Japan to the United States of the cherry blossoms. So the cherry blossoms are surrounding the tidal basin, which is pretty close to the Washington Monument. But during like this big long festival, they do like different like parades. They do a kite festival where there's like hundreds of people like flying kites on the National Mall, which I think is really amazing to see. Um, but to me, the coolest part is like seeing the cherry blossoms. The peak bloom for them is typically in like late March or early April, but it's just like so incredibly beautiful to see all of these like cherry blossoms. And the magnolia trees are also in bloom at that time. So really anywhere that you go in DC around this time of year, it's just like incredibly beautiful to see all of the trees.
Yay. I'm excited to see the cherry blossoms because we've been here in like March or early April when that's been going on. So we're looking forward to that this coming year. Okay, my last recommendation that I have is something that we've done a couple times also. It's biking around the monuments or around the National Mall. And this is also in DC, well, of course. And there is like a gravel path, and then some of it is also paved, but you can go in one big long rectangle from the Capitol down past the Washington Monument all the way to the Lincoln Memorial, which is so cool, especially at night. The Lincoln Memorial is like one of our favorite things on the National Mall. But you can go and bike a loop there so you can see all the monuments there and memorials. There are kind of off to the side, there's like the Jefferson Memorial, which is like right by the tidal basin where the cherry blossoms are. And there's also the Martin Luther King Memorial, which is so cool. And there's one more that I'm forgetting, that
FDR.
the FDR Memorial. Yeah. Those are very, very cool. So it's nice to have a bike to get around there a little bit easier because it is. We did try to walk one time when we very first got here, and it's a very long walk, so it's nice to have a bike. And there's the Capitol bike share, right? You can rent bikes kind of anywhere around DC. You get like an app, or you can pay at like this little pay station. And there's little parking docks for the Capitol bikes all over the place.
The Capital Bike Share is a great deal. I think it's $8 for an entire day. You get unlimited use, and there's like dock stations everywhere, so you can just like get out a bike to wherever you're going, find a place to dock it, see what you want to see, and then go to the next place. Because like the National Mall, it doesn't appear like it would be that big, but I think like from the Capitol to the Lincoln is like 2 miles or something. So that was like one of our first mistakes, is just trying to like walk everywhere.
Yeah.
It can be like very exhausting. So like biking is a great way to like make sure you see everything, because there's like so much along the National Mall. There's like the Korean War Memorial, World War One, World War Two memorials. There's there's like so much to see. So bikes are a great way. If you can't bike, there's the DC Circulator bus, which also will take you around the National Mall. And that bus is free, and you can just hop on and off whenever you want. If you're going during the summer, that's a good option because it's a good way to get air conditioning as well. The last one that I did was to get a half smoked chili dog at Ben's Chili Bowl on your street. So I think there's like a few different like sides to Washington D.C. There's like the nice area like Georgetown. There's a nice area like the Wharf. Like there's like the national monuments. But going to U Street allows you to see like the other side of Washington D.C. So like Ben's Chili Bowl has kind of been like an iconic Washington D.C. like location and has played like a big part in history. I was reading earlier about like some of the history of the store, and right after the assassination of Martin Luther King Jr., there was a lot of like riots and stuff that were taking place, and a lot of the organizations had asked like Ben's Chili Bowl to stay open later so that like the firefighters and police that were like working to contain all the chaos would have like food to eat. So it's just played like a really big part in like DC's history. I think it's in like a really fun, like unique, different part of Washington, D.C. It's also along 14th Street, which has a lot of like restaurants. Like right nearby is a Michelin star restaurant. Um, so it's just like a really fun place to see. Also, there's a lot of like beautiful like row houses and a lot of street art. A lot of like the alleyways are like painted really cool. So I think it's a fun place to visit as well.
Sweet. Okay, well, that wraps up our top 10 recommendations, things you should do in DC. If you are interested, if you're visiting and you have questions for us about stuff, or you need some tips, things that we have learned, or also food recommendations, then definitely message me and I'll give you some very good food recommendations. So I hope you enjoyed this episode about things to do in DC. And don't forget that you're not the only one who doesn't like seafood, unless you're Adam. Then you can be on the like seafood
Because
team.
it's delicious.
All right. Talk to you all very soon. Goodbye.